Good evening, and welcome to our 8th session of Conversations from the Capitol. The series aims to highlight the experiences of American Smileys who have worked in local, state, and federal politics or policy. My name is Haya Panjwani, and as a part of the Smiley community, I serve as a team member for iServe, which organizes and provides resources for volunteer activities that benefit communities throughout the Southwest region. Tonight, we are very excited to be speaking with Noshad Garmali. Noshad serves as City Council member in Sugar Land, Texas. Prior to joining City Council, Noshad served as a board member for Child Advocates of Fort Bend, was appointed to the Planning and Zoning Board for the City of Sugar Land, and more recently served on the Ethics and Review Board for the city. Noshad has also served in various roles within the Smiley community. Noshad is a graduate of the Sugar Land Fort 101 Leadership Program and has served on the board of directors for Nizari Federal Credit Union and is its current and as its chairman in the past. Leading our discussion this evening is our moderator, Ilham, or Illy Jaffer. Illy currently serves as the City of Houston's Intergovernmental Affairs Manager for state and federal legislative affairs. Her previous work experiences include working on Capitol Hill, where she served as Deputy Chief of Staff to a Texas member of Congress, the White House, where she served as National Advance Staff, and several federal and local campaigns, including the 2012 Obama for America and the 2016 Hillary for America presidential campaigns. Undoubtedly, tonight's conversation will be extremely captivating. As a reminder, if you have any questions, please submit them using the Q&A function on Zoom. And lastly, it is best to view this webinar in gallery mode so that you can see both speakers at the same time. With no further ado, I will pass it on to Illy to get us started.
Hiya, thank you so much for the kind introductions and layout of the format. I would like to start off with saying Noshad. In my line of work, I interact with elected officials at the local, state, and federal levels every day. However, interviewing you is a special treat, Councilman, because I'd like to point out you are one of the only 2 in the United States that I can say Yali Madad to. So with that said, Yali Madad, Councilmember Garmali, and welcome to Conversations from the Capitol. Just right up front, I wanted to note for the audience that you are speaking only in your personal and individual capacity. And with that said, I'd like to start with our very first question. So, as one of the only council members in the United States that's a Smiley, could you please walk us through your journey and provide some insight? What point was it in your life that led you to choose to run for elected office?
Sure, Illy, and Malali Madad to all my Smiley brothers and sisters who are watching this evening, and to all my friends. It's a good question. I started my journey not knowing that I wanted to be a city council member, just an ordinary person that would go to Jamaat Khana, do my normal seva, do my duties, ununiformed volunteer all the time. As Haya mentioned, I've done several roles within AKF and the Nizari Credit Union. But about 11 years ago, I moved to the city of Sugar Land. I always lived in Fort Bend County, which is our larger county. But 11 years ago, my family, my wife and I decided that we're going to move into the city. And, I've given a lot of time to the community. And I really want to give back to the community where I live, which is Fort Bend County. And that's where my kids were born. And my kids have gone to school. And we had to make a tough decision because we were in private school. And we decided that if I wanted to run, it's probably a good idea for me to pull them out of private school and use the Fort Bend Independent School District, which is one of the fantastic school districts in this area. And it was 11 years ago I decided I want to do it, but you can't just jump into this role. You have to take classes. And Haya mentioned I took Sugar Land 101 11 years ago, where I went and learned about infrastructure and how water gets to our house and some boring topics, not things that people want to do. And then I went to the police academy, Citizens Police Academy, where police officers would teach us different things. And then I did the Fort Bend Chamber 1-year-long leadership program. This was over 3 years. I decided to do these things because I wanted to build my resume. If I did pursue this line of not work, because you don't get paid for it, what I do is all voluntary, but just a new way of giving back to the community. And, you know, His Highness the Aga Khan always says, you know, we're American. We live in America. We are immigrants. I was an immigrant. My parents immigrated here, but we're Americans. And I'm very proud to say that I'm American. I'm very proud to say that I'm a Sugarlandite. And I wanted to give back to the community based on that. So started 11 years ago. I did several different classes, and obviously there was other things to it, but we only have an hour today. And I know you've got lots of questions to ask as well. Hopefully I answered your question, Ely.
Yes, you did. Sorry, I was having some difficulties with unmuting myself. Thank you for answering that question. And with that, I want to elaborate on some of the amazing work that you've done in your extensive background in the community. As Haya noted, that you were chairman of AKYSB, you were chairman of Nizari, you're currently executive vice president of Prime Communications, in addition to a slew of other accomplishments. It seems you've maintained a very level-headed and modest demeanor. What are some of the accomplishments that you're most proud of, and how have they set you up for the role that you're currently serving in as a council member?
Sure. It's a loaded question, but the way I see accomplishments is it's not so much about the accomplishments, but I've been put into leadership roles. And being put into leadership roles throughout my life, whether it be YSB, I was chairman for Aga Khan Health Board in the past, and many folks know that I'm a registered nurse by profession as well. And so leadership, if you look at Webster's and you look at the definition, it's the ability to influence the thoughts and actions of others. And whether it be in my nursing life or my life here at Prime Communications over the past 21 years, I've always had leadership roles. But the accomplishment that you're looking at right now on the screen is by far June 8th of last year was my lifelong dream. That became really a dream 11 years ago, right? As I said early, when the mayor, Mayor Joe Zimmerman, who's our current mayor, swore me in. And this swearing in ceremony, and I've been to many swearing in ceremonies because I go to many city council meetings over the past several years, which not many people go to, but boring people like myself that have nothing better going on in the evenings, I go to these things and I learn about them. And it was standing room only. It was just an amazing, amazing night. So it's not so much about me getting sworn in. It was about having that room with standing room only with my volunteers, my supporters, my well-wishers, my voters who voted for me and put me into office, because I did go through a runoff. And it's tough to go through a runoff. So I had one more month of campaigning after the May general election. I had to go in and do it again. But I feel that this is the accomplishment that has really been the pinnacle of my life. Obviously, getting married to my beautiful wife is important, and just celebrating our 25th anniversary is important. But on a personal level, being sworn in as the first Muslim in the city of Sugar Land and in this region was a big, big accomplishment for me.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And those are really, really great, captivating pictures that you that we have on the screen as well. So my next question, and you touched on this a little bit, has being in a Smiley enhanced or impacted your ability to serve your constituency?
Sure. I'll say yes and no. And the reason I say that is the following. You know, in being in a Smiley, we're always taught about the ethics of life, ethics in general, pluralism, and the importance of all beings. And it's very important to me, right, being in a Smiley. But at the end of the day, when I'm sitting on the diocese for the last year that I represent 122,000 individuals that live in our beautiful city of Sugar Land. In my district, there's about 17,000. And so every time I'm up on the diocese and there's something that comes up to be voted on, because at the end of the day, what do city council members do? We vote, we raise your taxes. Sometimes we lower them, but we're responsible for your trash bill, your water bill. So we go through these processes, and I've always got, how would Mrs. So-and-so feel? And it's not just the Smiley community in and around the area. It's all my constituents. And, you know, without the votes of my constituents, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And, you know, I've had Hindus that support me. I've had Americans, African Americans, Chinese Americans. Everyone really rallied around me to get me to where I'm at today. So in my opinion, being in the Smiley, the ethics that our religion teaches us is what's rooted in me. And more importantly, my parents put it in me as well. You know, they knew that giving back in the community is very important. My mother always volunteered. She always cooked for people. It didn't care who you were. We didn't have much money growing up, but she never let a kid that was in college or U of H or Houston Community College or San Jacinto College go without a meal. So she always made sure that they got their food. And my family's always been that work, no words attitude. So we give to the community. We don't boast about it. You put your head down and you just do it, as Nike says.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So what are some of the challenges and joys that you face during a day in the life of Sugar Land City Council? So if you could provide some insight as to what your day looks like, and then maybe provide some challenges and joys based on that description, that would be great.
Sure. The joys are very clear. I've met so many people over this last year and a half. And before you put this picture up, I'll just talk to it, and then we'll come back to this picture if you don't mind. But, you know, I've met so many individuals over this past year and a half, whether it be on the campaign trail, whether it be sitting at the diocese, whether it be at the meeting, whether it be our 800 fabulous staff that we have, from the police to the police chief. And so if I need something, I've got access to them. And we've had to utilize it. It's unfortunate, but we have to utilize it. But meeting people, I think, has been one of the joys of doing what I do as a city council member. And this picture that you see is Congressman Pete Olson, there to my wife's right, Nerman's right there. He's just a character. He's such an awesome friend that him and his wife Nancy have become over the past year and a half. I've taken them now to AKF galas and to Muslim Art Society gala. They understand it. They understand us. They understand everyone. So this is at my watch party, which became a victory party. And Congressman Olson came with this shirt with a red marker, and he wrote winner on there. And so when I got there, he said, Kermali, you've got to put it on. I said, Congressman, it's not time yet. We knew we had a good lead when I got to the victory party or the watch party, but he said, you're going to win this. And he's been through a lot of elections to know that I did have a sizable lead on my opponent. And so I went in the back and I put this on, and he made me wear it. And this is one of my cherished pictures that I keep, and I still have that shirt. I'll never wash it. But Congressman Olson also came to the polls, and he greeted our well-wishers. And this is one of my volunteers, Barkat Bai, who, oh my God, bless the guy. He would be at the polls at 7 a.m. and he would have his cup of chai there and ready and just ready to go. And in my volunteer base, and we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, you know, they're from teenagers to the senior citizens. But, you know, the challenges that you face is you face a long day. For instance, this morning, I had my first meeting with the city council at 7:30 a.m. Now, hence I rolled out of bed at probably 7, and I went on a Zoom call, which is not what I would have done pre-COVID. but I would have to go to City Hall, and we would have to be at the diocese at 7:30 in the morning. And that meeting went till about 9:30 this morning. And I've had 2 constituents call me during the day because they had some kind of issues. And I'm helping them resolve these issues with the help of our fantastic staff. And now I'm talking to you. You know, they tell you that you're going to put in about 7 to 10 hours a week. That's not true. I put in about 25 to 30 hours a week. In pre-COVID, I was putting in more because the weekends, we're kind of asked to go from one fundraiser to another gala to this, and we have to be there. And it's not required, but I tend to want to be there, and my family's been very supportive in that. They understand that I've got to be there, and so it's a lot of time when it comes to challenges. You know, our city is beautiful, Illy. When I was running, I would tell my constituents, what's wrong with our city? What do you want to fix? There's nothing to fix here. Truly, I meant that. We've got beautiful roads. We've got beautiful landscaping. We've got beautiful homes, beautiful residents that live here. And we're blessed to live in Fort Bend County and Sugar Land and in this area. And the best part of it for me is the Smiley, Jamaica, and Center is part of my district. And so that's warm and fuzzy feeling that I get. I live 2 minutes away from it, and literally I can walk there. But knowing that the Jamaica is my district and I represent it, and it's an honor. But, you know, meeting folks like Pete Olson, you know, I was on the phone with the sheriff earlier today because I have access to him. The county judge, KP George, I can text him and get a hold of him and or his right-hand man. Our Texas state representative, Rick Miller, they're available. So these are the joys that I get, is just meeting fabulous, fabulous people everywhere I go.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. You mentioned your family. You have an absolutely beautiful family. How did running for elected office affect your family, and have they adjusted?
I don't think there's ever going to be an adjustment. However, you see my 3 beautiful children, Aaron, who's with the police officers. No, he doesn't have handcuffs on, but he's got an award that it's a family affair. He completed the Child Police Academy, Youth Police Academy. So they have a Youth Police Academy. Daddy did the adult one, and he did the child one. And who you see there is the assistant chief and the chief at the time when he got awarded this about 1.5 years ago. My daughter there, Ariana, who is going to be a sophomore at Austin College, going into teaching and psychology, she did the Mayor's Youth Academy. And so this is us on the steps of City Hall, her getting her award. And to the right there is Adam. Adam is a senior at Penn State University, and he's with Mayor Jimmy Thompson there, former mayor of the city of Sugar Land, and a good friend of mine. He also did the Mayor's Youth Academy, so it became a family affair. So they started, and any of the youth that are out there, I highly recommend them to do these type of courses because it looks amazing on a college application. I can tell you, sometimes I forced Adam and Ariana to go. I didn't have to force Aaron because it was fun to go shoot guns or play guns and all that. But sitting through Mayor's Youth Academy can become boring as a teenager. But they did it, but it looks amazing on a resume. So to answer your question a little bit more, it is a family affair. And so in December of 2018, I decided to run on December the 12th. Mm-hmm. We made a family decision on December the 12th, and we said, we're going to do this. And I told them, if we're going to move forward, we're going to go forward with a unanimous decision. I need a 5-0 vote here. And we had a unanimous decision. And we had a 5-0 vote, but I warned them. I warned them that there could be some bad press about Dad. There could be something that comes out that people will talk bad about me, because it happens, unfortunately, in politics. And even in city politics, it does happen. The good news is people tried and we stayed above it. and we didn't respond to it. There wasn't much. Really wasn't. But at the end of the day, I prepped them and I said, we're going to be in it together as a family, or we're not going to do it. So we decided to do it together. And I will tell you that all three of my kids have found me voters. Adam, for instance, at Penn State University in the spring of last year, was texting and Instagramming and Facebook messaging his friends that live in Sugar Land and said, hey, we went to middle school together, because Adam didn't go to the school that he was assigned to here in Fort Bend. He went to a different medical professional school. And so he got me voters. And then they would say, well, we're not going to vote for your dad. We don't know who your dad is. Send them to us. So he'd give me an address, and Nerman and I would go there and knock on that door and say, hey, I'm Nishad Kermali, and Adam told me about it. So they would ask me pinpointed questions. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Texas? What are your thoughts? And I would have to answer them. And then they would say, put your sign in my front yard. And I'm like, good job, Adam. Because then I would get 3 votes out of these, because the teenagers are now 18 and they can vote. Ariana, she just turned 18. Her first vote was for her dad. Adam's first vote was for someone else in the past, but first vote was for me. And she had a lot of other 18-year-olds that she can get to vote as well. And so she helped register voting. And then Aaron knew a lot of people that were 16, 17, but they had parents. And he said, you know what? You live in new territory, don't you? Yes, we do. Well, my dad, I need you to vote for him. And so these are the type of roles that my kids played, very, very important roles. I think hundreds of votes. Granted, I only had 1,900 total, right, to win, but they qualify for hundreds of votes. And so what I'll tell the youth out there again is, if you set your mind to something, I said this before, it's called Nike. Just do it. Just do it. I'm a nurse. I'm a city council member. I'm an executive at a company that runs lots of AT&T stores throughout the entire North America. And so I've been very, very blessed, but it goes back to the roots, and I'll always say it. It goes back to the roots that my mother and my father instilled in me, that keep your head down, work hard, and you'll get where you need to in life.
Excellent advice. Campaigning is definitely a tough job, and it looks like your family was amazing at helping, and you have very smart, accomplished kids. So congratulations on that front also. You know, right now, COVID is on the mind of everyone these days. Is there any, as an RN that worked at a prominent community hospital, Ben Taub in Houston, is there any advice you'd like to give in regards to involvement at the community level with the current pandemic?
Yeah, and so this has really changed all of our lives, right? Yes, the Smiley would still put on these type of webinars to get people from all over the U.S. and North America together, and we've done a great job, but we've really sped it forward. And the advice I would give is the same advice that you hear day in and day out from our healthcare officials, from our public officials, from everyone. And let's not make it political. Let's not make it political. It's all about mask up. We need to wear a mask wherever we can't social distance, where you can't be 6 feet apart from someone. We need to wear a mask. We have to, and I brought my props with me, we have to wash our hands, and we have to wash them for 20 seconds. We have to keep hand sanitizer around and utilize these things. It is very important that everyone, yes, we have to go to the grocery store. Yeah, we have to run errands. Yes, we have to work. We have to make a living, and the economy needs to stay open. I'm a firm believer the economy needs to stay open, or we can't continue the unemployment as high as it is and continue to thrive as America. And so it's very important that we follow the healthcare officials. There's mixed signals, but protect yourself. Protect yourself. And I think if we protect ourselves, we're going to come out of this. We're going to come out of this stronger than we ever were. But on the city council level, my 7:30 a.m. meeting this morning was about the budget. How do we continue to keep our roads safe, keep our police, which are very important, on the streets, the ambulances running, the 822 employees that support this city, how do we keep them all employed? And we're making tough decisions in the sense that we still need road improvement. Last year, when we had a May 7th flood here in the city, a lot of homes got flooded. And we have this thing in the Gulf Coast called Hurricane Harvey. Homes got flooded. We've got to make sure we fix that for our constituents. So it means that we have to pay for that. And where do we get it from? We get it from sales tax revenue. And sales tax revenue is down. The good news for our city overall, we're in a healthy position. It's an open record, it's okay, but we are in an okay position, but we're still down collecting taxes. We really are. So advice is mask up. COVID is here, it's real, it's serious, especially the elderly. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to stay isolated. It's hard not seeing your grandkids. It's hard. I know my in-laws, they don't come over because of social distancing. It's tough. It's really tough for my kids not to see my in-laws. But we've made a tough decision. And we know, inshallah, that we're going to get through this, and we're all going to get through this together.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I couldn't agree with you more. In regards to folks that are listening in right now, could you advise what's one concrete thing a person can do today, tomorrow, to get directly involved and start having an impact?
Sure. I've done it. And if you want to get involved, you can do it too. Make time. Make time in your day to give back to your community. Make time to learn about the community in which you live in. And it doesn't have to be the community. Some of us have a passion for children. Mm-hmm. I was on the Child Advocates Board. Mm-hmm. Some of us have a passion for the American Heart Association because we have a relative that passed due to that. Some of us have a passion for cancer because we know someone that was affected with childhood cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. These organizations need us, all of us. It's always good to give back. And I said it earlier, His Highness the Aga Khan always talks about giving back to the community in general. And the other piece of advice, second piece of advice, is just because you're giving back, don't expect anything in return. Mm-hmm. You do it with your mind, body, and soul. You do it because the love for that organization, the love for yourself, the love for the man upstairs, and you do it to leave this world a better place than what it really was. And I think that advice would be very, very important. Here's another piece that I'd like to bring up is and I want to go back a little bit, Illy, if you don't mind, sure, to the campaign trail. Mm-hmm. You know, you had asked me about the success of my campaign, and I mentioned my children, but I think I've got a secret weapon. This secret weapon, unfortunately, if you want to run for office, you can't have them. This secret weapon is this right here, and I think everyone can see it. The left, you see me in a lot of bluebonnets. This is on a Saturday afternoon while block walking here in Telfair, the community in which I live and I represent. And to my immediate left is my sister-in-law, Mina. Next to her is my beautiful wife, Narman. And next to her is my sister, Anar. These three ladies is what I call my CEO effect. They are my chief executive officers. They worked my tail off. And let me give you an example. Saturday mornings, we would start walking at about 10 o'clock and going door to door. And literally, I've been to doors and people have said, "We're a Republican. We won't vote for you." And I'm like, it's a nonpartisan race. What does it mean? They opened the door back up, and this individual called, his wife called me later on in the day and apologized and said, "We're going to vote for you. We looked you up. We Googled you, and you truly do care about the city." And so I run a nonpartisan. I have R friends, I have B friends, I have independent friends. Doesn't matter. I have lots of friends. But these three young ladies, they would make me walk till 6 p.m. and I would have to be at a gala at 7. No, we're going to keep walking. Lunch breaks were like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It is what it is. But we walked at a lot of homes, and I will tell you, a lot of people that are probably watching right now have opened their door and said, "Oh my God, it's so hot. Have some Gatorade." They've given me chips and grapes and all kinds of stuff to take with us onto our campaign trail. But my secret weapon number one are these three women. Mm-hmm. My secret weapon number two are these youth. This is a picture in my living room where we assembled about 1,200 signs over a weekend. And one Sunday night, we put out about 900 signs. So we woke up Monday morning and Sugarland was plastered with these gold and blue signs all over. And it's like you woke up to a sea of gold and blue. And I had large signs all over the city that all got planted over one night. And many people may know Upshi Chanya. In the background, she was whispering a lot of good things to me. And she was a big part of my campaign as well. I'd be a fool not to mention her. But there's hundreds of people that volunteered. And everyone's noticed, whether it be Congressman Pete Olson, the sheriff, the county judge, current mayor. People said, "Wow, how do you get 5 people under a tent from 7 in the morning till 7 at night?" And I said to that person, to these people, I said, "It's my community. It's my community." They really rallied around me. And these 3 ladies, they worked their tails off. We lost a lot of weight. Norman would make, on weeknights, she and I would walk in the evenings after I get home from work at 6 p.m. and would walk till 8. And then 7:45, then it was 8, then it was 8:15. She wouldn't let me stop. And there was a lot of sleepless nights, but I will tell you, my 2 opponents that I faced, fantastic individuals. We've become friends since then. I know their husband, I know their wife, I know their kids. And so we're very casual. It's the type of city we are. We were very focused on a campaign, and then you pull back and you become friends. But my volunteer crew, second to none. And the citizens of Sugarland and Fort Bend County really, really noticed that but my sister Anar, boy, she knows a lot of people. And if anyone knows my sister, she will nag you, and she'll say, "You haven't voted yet." And they said, "No, we have." And she caught people lying. And when she caught them lying, said, "I've got a list. I know who voted yesterday." Said, "Oh, okay. You know that much? Okay, Anarapa, we're going. But this is my secret weapon. The youth, the seniors of the Jamaat who came out in van loads. And they came out on a Wednesday. There's this lady here in Sugarland that does a beautiful seniors program every last Wednesday of the month or first Wednesday of the month. And her name is Shanaz. And she had like 7 or 8 minivans pull up. And when my opponents saw that, they said, "Oh my God, what just happened?" But these seniors, they were there for me, and strong voter base. And, just again, these 3 ladies to the left, the youth, the seniors, my volunteers, I would not be where I'm at without these folks. I really wouldn't.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We have some questions from the audience. But before I get to those questions, I want to remind everybody that if you have questions, please use the chat box, and we will get to them all, hopefully. So, Councilman, the first question, and I'll go in order of receipt. What is Sugarland 101? Is that actually a formal program? Are there similar programs for other cities looking to get more civically engaged?
Absolutely. And I believe Ayan Kermali, spelled a little different than me, has asked this question. Great question. Sugarland 101 is the basics, the fundamentals of learning about your city. So we did this over about 9 Wednesday nights. They fed us really good. And we would go there and we'd listen about engineering would come in one evening. The police would come in one evening. Fire would come in one evening and tell us what they do. So different department heads would come in every Wednesday night. Budget, finance. I'm not a numbers guy. I really not. I've done everything at Prime Communications, but I've never been the finance guy because I'll cook the books. I'll be the next Enron. That's what will happen if Noshad gets me, because I love to spend. I love to have a good time, but Fareed will just never. He'll just never let me touch the books. It is what it is, and I respect it because it's everything about the city is what Sugarland 101 is. Most cities have it. I know Houston has it. Fort Bend County has it. Missouri City, which is right down the street, they have it. Look it up. Go to the city website. They will work with you. It's a fantastic program. It's something that if you're want to get civically involved, something you should do.
Thank you so much. So I'll go to our next question from the audience. You said you met with departments like our fire department, police, water department. What was the one thing they all asked of you, knowing you were running for office?
So while I was running, I didn't meet with them. I knew of them. I knew the police chief, Eric Robbins. I knew him. I knew our fire chief. I knew them in passing because I attended city council meetings and stuff. They didn't really know me, but they got to know me because I was at programs. I was at the meetings. My children attended programs. So I didn't really meet with them. But after I've met with them and after I've been with city council, I get a lowdown from our police chief once a quarter. Mm-hmm. And our police chief and his staff literally sit in front of me. It used to be pre-COVID. We would sit together around a table and they would tell me all the crimes that have happened in my city and specifically my district. And I just had my crime meeting with chief about 2 weeks ago. It goes for 2 hours. And he looked out all the crimes that have happened in my district. He tells me about them, the disposition of them. And the beautiful thing that he tells us is our crime rate continues to go down in the city of Sugarland because it's just a great city and our police officers do such a fabulous job of taking care of our citizens. So I've met with them all. I meet with the fire chief. I meet with different department heads, our finance heads, our assistant city managers, meet with them all very, very regularly.
Great, thank you so much. We're getting thank yous from the audience as well. The next question that we have is, how has your role and time commitment as a council member impacted your life at home?
Good question. So if you'll recall, I've always been involved in some way, shape, or form involved in community service, whether it be within the Smiley Muslim community, whether it be outside the community. I've always been involved. So my wife is actually, get out of here. Good. We want you to be gone. Why are you home tonight? This COVID has been, what's going on? Why are you here so much? But truthfully, I'm out a lot. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I'm able to do this is the support system of Nerman. She's amazing. She runs the household. She does everything. I never have to really worry about the kids. And I've got great kids. They're always well behaved. They've never been problem child. Every once in a while, but you know, that's a kid. I was the baby in my house, and I like to be a problem child as well every so often. But a lot of people call me the Energizer Bunny. Mm-hmm. I keep going and going and going and going, and I take that as a compliment. That you always find time, and I mentioned it earlier, if you are really passionate about something, you will find time to do it. So just do it.
That's great. Excellent advice. And you definitely, absolutely have a lot of energy. So that's great. All right. Our next question is, how did you go about crafting your platform? It seems straightforward for the issues that you care about, but what about the auxiliary miscellaneous issues?
It's a great question, and I didn't pick up the person's name that asked it, but
It's Ian Smiley.
Okay, again, another question. I need to hook up with this person. But Ian may be a youth, in my opinion, or a millennial. Here's what I'll tell you, is just because I'm an Ismaili Muslim did not guarantee me that every Ismaili would vote for me. Mm-hmm. There were Ismailis, one right here in my neighborhood, a good friend of mine. He called me and he said, "Noshad, my daughter and her friends want to talk to you." And I'm like, "What's wrong? You're not going to get them to vote? Come on, vote for me." "No, I'll give you a check and everything, but my daughter wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay." So it was a Saturday. They called me over, and they had some tough questions like, "What is your platform?" So when I first built my website, Noshad Karmali for Sugarland, I did not have issues on there when I was running. And I had a lot of folks, young folks, mm-hmm. "What's your platform? What are you going to do about taxes? What are you going to do about the crime rate?" So I had to list these out on my website. So I had to make it public that I am going to listen. I'm going to be the ear for you of my 17,000 constituents in my district and the 122,000 that live in the city of Sugarland. And when I go to vote, I'm going to keep all 122,000, because the 7 of us press a button, yes or no. Here's what I'll tell you. 99.8% of our votes over the past year, we have a great city council. We're very cohesive. We may squabble behind the scenes because that's what leaders do. But when we have an issue in front of us, we're unanimous. We're in it together to show the community that we care. We care. Other city councils can't say that. Other city council meetings go till 1 in the morning. One of our cities right down the street from me, they go till 1 in the morning. I'm like, "What do y'all do till 1? The longest I've had one city council meeting over this last year is till 10 p.m. But most of the time they start at 5:30. They start at 5:30 for sure. And I usually get to city council at about 3:30 on Tuesdays, and I'm there till the evening, and we're done by 8. We're very civil. We're very civil about how we talk to each other. We respect the heck out of each other, and we love our staff that works for us.
That's excellent. So as a follow-up question to that, could you provide us with some insight as to the structure and like organizational chart, I guess, of like of Sugarland City Council?
Great question. And so we have a mayor city manager form of government. Mm-hmm. So that means the mayor is my boss, mm-hmm. and there's 6 city council members, so a total of 7 of us. Mm-hmm. And we hire the city manager. And in fact, we just hired our city manager last year because our other city manager, after 28 years or so, retired. And Alan Bogard did a fantastic job for our city to see it grow. And now we're at a plateau. Our city is levelized. We don't have any more land per se to grow on. We don't have many commercial tracts. We don't have many residential tracts left. We have a little bit, not much. So we needed someone to come in and stabilize our city. So we hired a gentleman by the name of Mike Goodrum, who reports to the mayor and city council. So he's hired by us. He is the CEO of the city. He's the boss man. He runs the day-to-day. He has authority to sign a certain amount of checks to a certain dollar amount. And then he's got 3 lieutenants underneath him, and really it's 4 lieutenants. But he's got like a COO, a CFO, and I don't know what the third one is, to be honest with you. But he's got 3 underneath him, and then the staff reports, and the 800 so staff report into him. Okay. So we sit on top of them. Mm-hmm. But you know who sits on top of us? The mayor and city council? The citizens. they are our boss, because if they don't like us in 2 years, I can be out. So they have the right to vote us out. So we, as city council, report to the citizens. Then we have the mayor. Then we have the city manager, his 3 lieutenants, and then the fantastic staff underneath them.
Great. Thank you so much for providing that structure. Now we have a couple more questions. Let's see here. Another question from Ian Kermali. Are there any challenges of the office that you did not anticipate or expect?
I can't say that there's any challenges that we didn't anticipate. We knew that Alan Bogard at some point in time would retire. And so that was a national search that we had to go through. We hired a third-party firm. It took a lot of time. We went through many, many resumes, and us as city council, we dwindled it down to several, just a handful. And then we did 2 days of interviews back to back in a private setting. And we brought them all in one at a time. Some of them flew in from out of town, including Mike Goodrum, who is from Coral Springs, Florida. He ran that city for a couple of years. And previously to that, he was the assistant city manager for our city. So he knew our city very well. So I think that was the one big challenge, because it was a lot of work. The next big challenge is COVID. You know, there's different philosophies out there that the economy is going to rebound. It's going to be a U shape. It's going to come back really quick. And then it's going to be a swish, and it's going to take a little bit longer. And then there's just a flat line that we're going to continue, you know, shut down and everything else for a long time. We're dealing with that challenge right now. And it's not just our city, it's the entire government. It's the world. So, you know, when Hurricane Harvey hit on the Gulf Coast, it was very isolated to the Gulf Coast. It was very isolated to us here in the Houston, Galveston area. But that's not what's going on in the world today with COVID. We've got this broad spectrum of everyone from Japan to China to the US and North America, all facing the same challenge.
Great, thank you. Next question from the audience is from Yusuf Hamirani. How does your role at Prime overlap with your role as city councilman and vice versa, or does it?
Yusuf, thank you for the question, and I'll be upset if I don't mention this, but Yusuf Bai's son was on this call last week, Ash. Ash is a elected official for the city of Stafford for their school district, and he's a good friend of mine, and he and I have traded notes on several occasions. And my role at Prime, the good thing is my schedule is flexible. I have great employees that work for me, under me, and I've got great leaders above me as well. And these leaders allow me flexibility in my time schedule to do this. So if I've got meetings in the morning like I did this morning, I'll stroll into the office about 9:30, which I did after my hour and a half or so long meeting. And I had to leave early today to come home, prep, make sure I get a double tall latte, Starbucks, so I'm awake for this and energized. But I wanted to leave early so I can freshen up. There's not an issue with that. We go on 3-day retreats at times. So pre-COVID, you know, we would go to off-site and decide what is our mission, what is our vision, what is our 5-year, 15-year, 30-year strategic plan. And we did that earlier this year. So we're not just talking about now. And by the way, when we did the strategic plan back in February, when we went to College Station, Texas, home of the Aggies, and we spent 2 nights there, COVID was not in the picture. Mm-hmm. So we were planning for everything, not knowing March 15th, the cities are going to shut down. So now we've had to adjust and backtrack. But Yusuf, I hope I've answered your question that it's a work-life balance, and also even with my kids, it's a balance as well. And you know, Nerman and I are going to be empty nesters here next week. I drop all 3 kids off to Dallas and Sherman and Penn State next week. So I'm really going to have a lot of time. So to do more.
Great. Thank you. So Councilman, we have 2 more questions left, and it looks like we have time for 2 more questions left.
Okay.
So the next one is from Salim Remtullah. How do you handle a situation in which your bosses want you to vote a certain way that is different than your own perspective?
Salim and I have worked together in many volunteer capacities, including Diamond Jubilee as well. You sometimes have to learn to disagree to agree. However, like I said, we don't have many issues that we disagree upon. We really don't. Every vote has been 7-0. And all 7 of us, including our city manager and our 800 staff, we always have the citizens' best interest. That's why we're such a well-oiled machine here in the city of Sugar Land. And you know what? I don't say that just because I'm a city council member. I don't say that just because I wear this pin that only 7 of us wear from the city council. I say that because I've lived here. I've lived in Sugar Land in the actual city for 11 years, but I've lived in Fort Bend County for the past 28 years. So I get it. They've always made great decisions, from our previous city manager, Alan Bogard, and we get along, and that's the beautiful thing. And like I said, 99.8% of the time, it's been 7-0. In fact, I was the one that voted the no in that one that I'm talking about, but it's because I had the citizens' best interest in mind. 14 citizens spoke at that meeting, and we spoke to the developer, and the developer cooperated. They made a change, and we voted 7-0 to pass it just 2 weeks ago. So you got to keep the citizens in mind. As long as all 7 of us have the citizens in mind, everything else is easy.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your service also. So the last question that we have, I think, would lead perfectly into closing remarks. So what is, and this is from Farida Chagani, what is next for you? And can we count on you as our next mayor? With that, if you could also elaborate on, when the next election is, and if there are any stipulations on term limits, et cetera. With that said, yeah.
Sure. I didn't know Farida was invited to this call. Farida and her beautiful family are my constituents. They live in my neighborhood. Farida hosted me at a open house at her house. She opened her house up for me and invited me over, and Norman and I got to meet her fantastic neighbors. And I didn't think that politics would be a career, and it's not. Let's be honest. I make $550 a month. That's what my stipend is a month. So I can't live off of it. The mayor makes, I think, about $1,600 or $1,500 a month, whatever it is. He can't live off of it. He's a professional engineer. Do I have ambition today? I'm satisfied with where I'm at. I'm glad I am an elected official here in the city of Sugar Land. What will time bring? It's too early. I've only been in office for a year, a little bit over a year. About 9 weeks into office, I got a phone call from a couple of different folks saying that Congressman Pete Olson's not going to run next year, and we want you to be the person that runs for that seat. And I'm like, are you kidding? Mm-hmm. I'm a nurse. I've been an executive at Prime for 21 years, and I've been a city council member for all of 2 months, 8 weeks. I was at a retreat in Galveston, my first retreat with the city council. I don't even understand what they're talking about in this darn retreat. And so I politely declined that because I wasn't ready. But everything that I'm doing right now gets you ready, similar to Sugar Land 101. And as I said earlier, you got to put time into it to get something out of it. So Farida, no, the answer is no. You're not going to see me as your next mayor. I will tell you, running was a lot of work. It took a lot of money. It took a lot of money to get to where I'm at, and I put money out of my own pocket, and I was happy to do it. No issues there whatsoever to be where I'm at. But we'll see what the man upstairs wants, and we'll take it from there. So hopefully I've answered your question. If not, Frida, you and I can go have lunch tomorrow, and we can talk about it more. And make sure you bring Emma with you. But the level of service, I have a 2-year commitment. So I'm up for election again next May.
Okay.
And before I get into that, we have a big election coming up here in November.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time. Now is the time. If you don't like something, and it could be anything, register.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what? You can't vote if you're not registered. You just can't show up and say you're going to vote. I have senior citizens that voted for me for the first time, and it was because my family made sure they got registered, right? And they had these registration drives. The League of Women Voters does registration drives. Register to vote, because really we're 60 days out from early voting. Do not wait until November 3rd to vote, because the lines are ridiculous, and COVID, I don't think is going, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't think COVID's going anywhere. I don't know. I hope it's gone, but I don't know. So what I say is register, make your voice heard, and it's very important. November 3rd, really vote in early voting. I have a 2-year term. Those of you that are going to go vote in 60 days from now, one of the things that the city of Sugar Land has on the ballots, we have 9 propositions on there. And the first proposition that you're going to see from our city is the following, that we prefer, or the citizens have to vote. Today I have a 2-year term. There's a board that reviews all of our policies. They're recommending that we go to a 3-year term. Not Naushad, it's not my colleagues at City Council, but we have a citizens board that recommends this, and they've reviewed the bylaws, and they're saying, let's go to 3 years. So hopefully it'll become a 3-year. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It becomes a 2-year. But you must vote. I can serve 4 2-year terms as it stands right now. So I can be in office for 8 years. But if the citizens don't like me, come next May, I'm out. Someone could run against me. More than likely, I could have an opponent. I don't know whether I'll have an opponent or anything, but it is what it is. But that's my term is coming up in May.
Thank you so much, Councilman, for joining us today and for providing insight and for your service. Before we wrap up, I'd like to announce, and it's actually my pleasure to announce, a former colleague of mine from the Obama 2012 campaign and the White House will be our next featured guest on August 27th, Ali Merrily. And Chairman Sean, who is an elected trustee at the Austin Community College Board, will be the featured guest on September 10th. With that, thank you everyone for joining, and thank you again, Councilman, for joining us and for your time. With that, good night.
Thank you, everyone.